Town of St. Albans Selectboard meeting tonight. So you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll get the show right on the road here. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. There are two items that have been added to the agenda, and one is the household hazardous waste, and the other being the petition for the refiled testimony and exhibits for Vermont Transco, right?
Yeah, Delco,
Okay.
for the substation of Mason Street.
Okay. So, make a motion to approve the agenda for this evening's meeting. All those in favor?
Yep.
Yes. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, warrants. Bill, I do believe you have the general warrants for this evening.
Make a motion to approve the general warrants in the amount of $60,688.36.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? The ayes have it. Al? Payroll warrants?
We have three. I move that we approve the August 4th, the July 24th through July 30th warrant for $17,332.21. I also ask that we approve the payroll warrant for July 17th through July 23rd for $28,575.64. And lastly, that we approve the July 10th warrant, July 10th through 16th warrant with $18,300.58.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. I have an impact fee in the sum of $425.95 to Resource Systems Group. I make a motion that we approve the warrant for $425.94. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Excuse me, Bruce, is it 94 or 95?
Pardon me?
You said 95 first.
Oh, I'm
You said
sorry.
94.
$425.94.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Afternoon, evenings, yeah? Okay, so what I'd like to do is move along to the file digester. We have Mr. Eric Fitch here to talk to the public, answer any questions that anybody might have. So
Oh, did you approve the minutes? We can do that.
we can do this.
Yep, that's fine.
We don't sign them now. Eric, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thanks, Carrie and Jen, for helping us get squared away tonight, too. Is there anybody here that came to listen to the biodigester discussion? Yes? Okay, so Jeff's got some hard copies here that you might be interested in. We've just got a couple of slides here to talk about. Next slide, please.
I'm so sorry, yeah.
Next.
Having some difficulty, but,
Yeah, that was quick.
If you
oh, but never mind, I'm gonna resume slideshow.
So we just wanted to give you a little refresher on the digester project that's been proposed on Dunsmore Road. It's been around for years at this point, and there's some things that have changed. We just want to keep you aware of them. If you have any questions, hopefully you'll at least be fresh. Contrary to popular opinion, this project is not dead. We're still planning to move forward with it, but as projects sometimes encounter resistance, we have to figure out ways to move around them, and we've been working with that. One of the things that,
Am I behind?
just as a refresher, what we're talking about is an 800 kilowatt anaerobic digester project on Dunsborough Road. This would be in cooperation with the Bestview Farm, the Magnet Farm. We take the manure from their cow into an anaerobic digester, as well as some other substrates from the surrounding community. And these materials would get converted into renewable natural gas, called biogas, and the biogas would run a generator, and power from that generator would be exported to the wood. One of the things that's kind of unique with this project is it would incorporate some advanced phosphorus recovery technology. Most of these digesters, they just let the manure go through, and you can recover the energy from it, but the minerals and nutrients would just go onto the manure pit and then get spread on the land. One of the things that's being incorporated into this project is a dissolved gas flotation device, which will in total account for, I think, 90% phosphorus sequestration. Now, a lot of that phosphorus is still going to go back on the land because as you grow crops for animals, you're going to have phosphorus. But we'll have the ability to tailor how much goes into what parcels of land, and we can work with the farmers and with their nutrient management programs to make sure that we can minimize the risk to the surrounding water bodies. Next slide. So far, there's been a lot of engineering work that's gone on, a lot of permit work, and unfortunately, it looks like there's still quite a bit in front of us. But you can see here, this is an engineering drawing that was done by an organization called VHB. The plans for this digester are more or less complete. It's going to be built by a company called DVO, who maybe a lot of you have heard of. They used to be called GHD. They built over around 100 digesters in the United States, including at least 10 of them in the state of Vermont. They're the biggest footprint of digester, at least agricultural digester provider in the U.S. And this is the plan that they worked together with VHB on. And a big portion of the down payment has already been submitted to DVO to move forward with this.
Can you give me a thumbnail of how this thing works and where the digester is going to be on the site?
Yeah, you bet. So this right here is the anaerobic digester, the big tank. It's a concrete tank. The sidewalls are about 20 feet. It's got different compartments in it. And all the substrate gets loaded into one particular place. And it travels kind of like a plug flow, they call it, but it travels in a circuit around it. And there's a consortia of bacteria that are inside of this thing. Some of them break solids down and make them liquids. They make them things like organic acids. And then there's other kinds of bacteria that absorb those organic acids, and then they excrete methane. And it's just like any other living organism, you've got some respiration cycle. You and me, we breathe in O2, oxygen, and we breathe out CO2, carbon dioxide. When you have an anaerobic digester, there's no oxygen present. The whole thing is hermetically sealed, which is nice because there's no odor. But it's hermetically sealed, there's no oxygen there. And what that does is it encourages a different kind of bacteria to live there. And these are bacteria that don't lose oxygen in the respiration cycle. That's the way they can absorb this sugars and acids, and they can exhale, which you should say, this biogas.
The biogas is actually methane.
Yeah, in a case like this, it's something like 65% methane and 35% carbon dioxide.
Okay, earlier you used a natural gas. So.
Yeah, so natural gas is really purified biogas, and you end up with something that's something like 99% plus methane. As it comes out of this system, it's more like in the raw, like what you get out of the ground, right? And it's 65% methane. Now, depending on what you do with it, that's fine. In this case, it's going to get burned in an engine. In the engine, you can just tune the air makeup, so you can run it right through at 65%. We have a system, I'll tell you about in just a little bit. It's almost spit and image, same engine that runs this biogas. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Next slide. There's still quite a bit of work that has to happen here. The first couple of things are, in order to get to where we can start building, we need to have a certificate of public good. That's a long process that goes through the state of Vermont, through the Department of Public Service and the Public Service Board. We have to have a power purchase agreement approved. That's important because the third thing we need to do is get financing. And there's no way we'll be able to get financing without having an offtake agreement where we've got a contract that says somebody's going to pay us for the electricity that's generated. So those are the three activities that are ongoing at the moment. The one that we think is the longest lead time is the certificate of public good. The the attorney that's been working on this case, his most recent estimate is March, for that certificate of public good. Now, our goal is to have the financing in place contingent on the certificate of public good. And if that's the case, when we hit March, we should be able to flip the switch and start construction. So there was a time where we really hoped we could try to do this in the fall, but there's a lot of concrete that gets poured, and now it just doesn't look like we'll be able to pour that concrete before it gets poured. So springtime, think springtime, if we're successful with the power purchase agreement, the certificate of public good, and the financing, that's when we can start construction. Construction is a 6 to 8 month cycle according to DBO, the digester manufacturer. And the operating component of this, we would start with a 25-year power purchase agreement to export power to the grid. Any questions on that?
Are you finished with the presentation?
There may or may not be a couple of slides on Purpose Energy if you're interested.
Yeah, go forward, go forward, you'll
Okay.
ask at the end.
Purpose Energy is a new entity here. This before was just
Just go back on the supply of feeder material. Any concerns about having enough material?
great question. All right, so when this project was initially conceived, Green Mountain Power was working with 3 different farms, and they executed agreements with 2 of the farms, and the 3rd farm, which was actually the biggest farm, ended up selling the farm to a different group that has their own digester. So the cattle from that biggest farm were no longer included. And that, when this project is this far along and all the engineering drawings are done, the generator is actually been manufactured and it's sitting on the floor waiting for delivery. It's kind of hard to make it a different size project at this point. And that's kind of why Purpose Energy is involved. Green Mountain Power was looking at this project without that 3rd farm, trying to figure out where the energy would come from. And we started talking to them. Purpose Energy, we do industrial anaerobic digestion. We have a plant at Magic Hat in South Burlington, for instance. And at that plant, we take all the waste from the brewery. We bring in some materials actually from St. Albans City. We get ice cream from Ben & Jerry's. We get ice cream from Waterbury, Ben & Jerry's, and just different places all around the state. Sometimes towns call us up and there's some kind of spilling that they need to figure out. Or the state has called us before when somebody lost a whole chiller on it. And we can take this material, put it in our anaerobic digester and remediate it. So instead of dumping it someplace, we're actually converting all that carbon into energy. In our facility, it's a state licensed wastewater treatment facility. We discharge to the town of South Burlington's Department Bay wastewater treatment plant. And we're regulated, we collect data every day. Anyways, without the manure, this project becomes more interesting for an entity like Purpose Energy, who deals mostly with industrial waste. And here in northern Vermont, there's actually a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of manufacturing. And most of what we've been looking at actually is part of the dairy agro industry. The milk is going someplace. Somebody's making something with that milk. And all those processes, they have byproducts. We're looking at what are those byproducts and can we bring them in. The opportunities that are big include Swan Valley and Swanton, Ben & Jerry's in St. Albans City, maybe, what's that?
Town. St. Albans Town. Ben & Jerry's.
Are they in town?
Yes.
Oh, see. Like I said, Ben & Jerry's in St. Albans Town. We've got Barry Calabo, and there's some guys making ribs, and there's a lot of dried milk powder that's going in baby food formula. All of a sudden you start adding this up. There's a significant amount of waste that's local that currently is just going into manure bins. If we put it into this digester, that's actually better for the environment, because first we're going to remediate the carbon, and second we've got this phosphorus capture technology on the backside, so we can control where any of that phosphorus might go. So anyways, that was a good question. Is there enough feedstock available? Yes. It took on the order of 2 weeks to find enough feedstock to account for the 100 kilograms. I didn't mention one of them in there has always been, it's 4,000 tons per year of source separated organics from Casella. That in particular is like a truck to a week.
So One of my questions was the exact one Bill asked. The second question is still separate organics from Casella. Are you accepting them food wastes? That's what Casella's moving into, isn't it?
That's right. So Casella has a lot of different infrastructure. In Williston, they have a particular infrastructure that has a lot of source-separated organics, as what it's referred to, that's post-consumer food waste. Currently, it goes to chip-wood solid waste, where it's composted, and you can think about the issues involved in composting food waste, odor in particular. And it's also a high cost to them to do that, since they have to pay a significant tipping fee for chip-wood solid waste. Casella will make an investment in something called a slurry plant that will turn this into a pumpable material that we can haul in a tanker truck so that it won't be exposed to the environment with any odor. And then the slurry can go into the bioreactor here or the one we have in South Burlington.
I guess a related question. The manure was either going to be on farm or piped in. But now you're using this other waste, food source waste. You're going to be having a lot more trucks coming down the road.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. So at one point, there was going to be manure pumped from one farm and trucked from the other farm. And one of the changes that's happened is we want to pump from both farms, so we won't be trucking in manure. I think there was some public comment actually where somebody talked about potential for spills with the truck. But pumping it makes the most sense to get the trucks off the road. But we'll be trading those trucks for other trucks that will be hauling what we call substrate. That's the non-manure material. Now, those trucks are already local and on the road, with the exception of the Williston trucks. We'll just be changing where their point of destination is.
So what percentage of this will be food waste that you're going to be using here?
It depends on what metric you're looking at, but if you were to say by volume, it's about half. But if you were to say by energy potential, it's about 3/4. Meaning that there's about 30,000 gallons a day of each material, but the food waste will generate 600 to 800 kilowatts, and manure will generate 200. Manures, cows already use some of that methane potential.
At the end of this whole process, you'll also have some solids that dispose or linear.
That's right. I have two different kinds of solids. Now, dispose of or sell, I'm not quite sure how you look at that, but
It's going to leave the site and it's going to go somewhere.
so there's two different processes to generate solids. The first process is a screw press, and that's really going to get all the fibrous material. Think about the silage that the cows eat. That material becomes bedding for the cattle. And I don't know if you all shop at the box stores, but Home Depot, they sell these big bricks of stuff called black dirt, right? It's the same stuff. So you can use it as a fertilizer. It gets sold to people like you and me to put in their area. But that's number one. Number two is the solid cake that comes off of the dissolved air flotation system. And if you're curious what that material looks like, we make that at Magic Hat. For the same reason we sequester the phosphorus, because the municipal system is quite capable of managing all the phosphorus that we nonetheless send to it. It comes off initially, it's like foam, and then you can figure out whether you want to dewater it to be like Play-Doh or all the way down to something that's like hives. Currently, there's a local farmer that no longer has cattle and has a lot of acres of cornland, and we bring our material to him just where it needs to be, so he doesn't have to pick with commercial fertilizer or as much of it.
My last question, I'm on the board of the solid waste district, so have you talked to them at all? And are you going to, since one of their customers is Casella, and they do have a local district has a solid waste food recycling program.
So I have not personally spoken to Chipman Solid Waste about this. I don't know if somebody has.
I'm talking about Northwest solid waste in St. Albans, Georgia.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about that. We have been speaking with Solid Waste Department at the Agency of Natural Resources. They'll be involved.
Right, but our local district is setting up a program to collect food waste from
Oh, great.
households. And they also have a contract with all the schools, most of the schools, and also the grocery stores. All that is going into a compost facility now. My only point is that I think it would be helpful for you to sit down with the local solid waste district, share your information with them, and see if there's any benefit to collaboration. Not that it will do anything, but just the fact that we're in that business also.
That sounds like a good idea. Is there a way I can get in touch
I'll
with
get it to you
you?
when we break up.
Okay, great.
I can send you. Yeah, I'll just send you the email with the contact from the Northwest Solid Waste District.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
They're located, I know where it is, about 5 miles or so, I was gonna guess, maybe, so it's not far. Sorry.
I think that concludes what I had prepared. There's another slide that has my contact information if you guys have any questions.
Any more questions from the board?
There was discussion about your transmission line. Was that been resolved? I know there was one of the residents that was concerned about.
From what I understand, the initial plan had it going too close to somebody's house. And after the resident pointed that out, we just relocated to another place.
It wasn't moved, it's going through the field behind those residents,
On the right, on the
in their existing right of way.
existing right of way.
I think that was an issue that was brought to the attention of Green Mountain Power. And Green Mountain Power was pretty diligent about dealing with that.
There's a representative here from Green Mountain Power, Kristen.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Kristen Carlson from Green Mountain Power. Happy to answer any questions from the community, but appreciate the acknowledgement, and we did do that.
Okay, any more questions from the board?
I think so.
Okay.
Exciting project.
Thank you,
you very
Eric.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. Should we open it to the public for questions?
You can, sure.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to open it to the public. Anybody in the public have any questions for Eric?
Yeah, same thing with Green Mountain Power. I don't need to go up there. I'm still concerned with the odors. I know I hear a lot of promises we're not gonna have any, but I'm on the wrong side of that plan over there for the odors. And like I said before at the other meeting, I live next to a farm. I don't mind manure smell when they spread the fields. It's there, gone in a couple days. This is gonna be 24/7. And now we're adding more waste from outside, which means, I know he's saying some trucks, well, you're gonna truck it in. These trucks aren't running on town roads, at least not down here, where they're gonna be going. So that's putting wear and tear on that. We got the odor, they're gonna be right next to an endangered stream already. If they do have spills, we're gonna truck off the solid waste after. That's another truckload, whatever. Then I heard you say something about your phosphorus is going to another farm, hopefully not in this area. Supposedly that's going to get rid of that for us. But the biggest question I want to find out is, I keep hearing this certificate of public good. The state's going to give it to you. How come they never come around to where the public is and this is going to go in to ask us about it? They sit down in Montpelier and they write out a piece of paper, and then we get stuck with whatever comes. When are they going to start including the people of the communities?
I certainly can't help you with the state of Vermont's rules and regulations and how to change that. But I'd be in the same camp with you if there was a way to make it streamlined for us too. That would be great. But some of the other concerns you have are valid concerns, and I would like to mention from an odor perspective, I'd welcome you to come to our facility in South Burlington. And I think what you discover is that it actually smells a lot better than it did before we were there, when the waste was sitting in the open. One of the big advantages to an anaerobic digester is, in order for it to work, it has to be sealed. If you don't seal it, you get oxygen in, and then the process doesn't work. So, you know. Well, but it will go through an engine, so that the biogas that comes off, it can either go through an EPA-approved flare, which has to have a certain destruction capacity, or it goes through the generator, which serves the same purpose by combusting. And what you have then at this point, when you have raw manure, you effectively have volatilized manure in the air. That's what you smell, right? In this case, you don't have volatilized manure. What you're going to have is biogas, which is methane and carbon dioxide, which are both odorless.
What does this town, or what are we going to gain out of it? Not for the town.
Well, there's a couple of things. One is we're going to be able to sequester this phosphorus. By controlling where it goes and when it goes, you'll be able to reduce the amount of phosphorus, hopefully, that goes into St. Albans Bay. Right? So that's number one. Number two, each of us may ascribe a different value to renewable energy. And I don't know if that's important to you or not, but the manure and this food waste that would go in the digester would otherwise just rot or decompose someplace. In this case, we're controlling that function and we're turning it into energy. So you end up with this carbon neutral energy. And anybody who is anti-carbon emissions or in favor of trying to reduce the amount of carbon emissions would appreciate that we're using this carbon in a closed loop cycle. And then the other thing was, we're talking about the trucks, and you have a good point, right? There's going to be more trucks, but really, are there? There might be more trucks to this particular location, but all these trucks are already on the road. They're already going someplace. Some of them are going to manure pits in the same location. If we put it in the digester instead of the manure pit, it didn't change the traffic, but it changed how we can actually benefit from getting the energy out of the material.
What will be quiet, because they're starting to be flying up.
Just let me add one thing. I'm the region's energy policy committee, and to answer your question, the state has a goal of 90% renewables by 2050. Within the whole state, the region, the northwest region of Vermont, also has a subset of that goal that it has to produce. And we've gone through that process, and you go to the Regional Planning Commission, they'll give you the details. So this digester is contributing to the amount of electricity that we have to produce to make the state 90% renewable by 2050. So it does have a benefit to the region. That's why you see all the solar panels and the big debate over the windmills.
That brings it to mind a question about the phosphorus loading in the bay. The farmers were already, we have that, we have the phosphorus from the manure, and I understand that the byproduct will go back to the farm to be used as fertilizer, go back on the land. The product that comes from the waste product that comes in, will that be shipped off, or will we be adding to the material that's going back on the land in the bay?
That will be shipped to different places. There's
not in the watershed.
Right. Well, so each individual farm has its own nutrient management program, and in the case of the two farms that are participating, they've got a certain ratio of head of cattle to acres, right? And the acres that they have may not be related to the amount of phosphorus that their head cattle can generate. So, for instance, somebody that has not very many cows with a lot of land might still have to import extra phosphorus just to grow their crops. But somebody who has a lot of cattle and not much land, well, they may have more phosphorus from their cattle than they're allowed to even put on their land. With this dissolved air flotation device, we can actually separate all the phosphorus, and then we can blend it back in and give the farmer exactly what they need to manage their nutrients.
So you're going to have a program so it's not increasing the phosphorus loading that's going on the land in the watershed?
What we're going to do is provide our farm partners with the amount of phosphorus they need for their nutrient management program, but no more than that.
So the extra material which produces phosphorus is either going to be incorporated in their phosphorus management plan or fertilizer management plan, and any excess will be shipped out outside the watershed.
Well, I don't know necessarily that they'll go outside of the watershed, because there may be other people, depending on how you define the watershed, that are phosphorus depleted. So there's farms here that used to have a lot of cattle, and they used to spread a lot of manure, and they don't have those cattle anymore, but they still have a lot of acres of corn. And those people can choose to either use nutrients that are produced locally, or they can import them from Central America. But they need a certain, number of pounds of phosphorus per
So
acre.
when you go through the state process, through the Public Service Board, will they set up a plan to manage just that, the excess phosphorus that will be coming in to this digester, and so that it's managed, so that it's not going back into the watershed, or it's doesn't increase the phosphorus that's used in the watershed?
Not
Is that gonna be,
So-
addressed at the state level?
It's at the state level, but not the Department of Public Service. That would be through the Department of Agriculture and the nutrient management plan that each of these farmers is regulated with.
And that's gonna be part of your process?
What's that?
That'll be part of your permit process, that they will be talking to you, or be setting up a plan.
It's
Because you're bringing in excess phosphorus into the area, because you're taking in, if you take in food scraps or something from Casella out of Williston or different areas, you're gonna be bringing that in. So, and this is the same question we had with Green Mountain Power that we talked about with, and they said they were gonna be moving it out of the area.
So technically, our facility would not be regulated, it's the farm that's regulated. Because the farm is gonna have that plan for how much phosphorus they can spread. Now, what we have to do when we give this material to the farm, we have to send samples to Endyne, which is a laboratory that will determine how many kilograms of phosphorus per kilogram of solid. And then, if we give them so many solids, so many kilograms of solids, we know how many kilograms of phosphorus they've received. And then they have to report that on their nutrient management program. That's the same procedure we go through in South Burlington. So when we export this material, we have to send the sample off to the lab, collect the data, and then we have to deliver that data to the farm so they can report it to the state.
I wasn't aware that they had to report to the state the fertilizer they use on the fields.
That's under the new law.
Is it large farm, or is it every farm now?
It's now every farm, but the reporting cycles are different for the smallest farm.
Okay. Right.
Okay,
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Jeff. Have a good evening. Okay, next on our agenda is the Village of Franklin Park Association. It's the emergency 911 numbering issue. I'm not sure how we want to start this here.
So I would like to ask Joan to come up and present her case. You can-
I'm gonna start. I'm on the, one of the boards for the
So
association.
if you have a seat and introduce yourself.
First, I wanna give you a couple of things. I'm Joan Wood,
You
I'm
could-
on,
Could you please introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are?
my name is Joan Wood, I'm on the board for the Village of Franklin Park Homeowners Association. And we're here to discuss not only the numbering, but the issue of changing street names and fronts of buildings to backs of buildings.
Okay.
Things
Okay,
that are concerning our neighbors.
Just before you start, I did want to introduce, just clarify that we have a rules of procedure that we're going to try to follow, especially considering that there's a large number of people here. So we're going to have you present your case with
Okay.
all the material. We have Bill Hinman and Bob Ware here from our assessing department, and the fire chief, Bob Cross, here. But after you state your case, I'm going to ask Bill and Bob to come up and answer to some of those questions. And then anyone else can comment if they wish, but they just need to limit it to about 3 minutes a person, so that we hopefully don't repeat the same data and don't spend 3 or 4 hours
I
on it.
understand what you're saying, but I also understand that there are 25 other homeowners there, other than myself, who have a right to speak.
Absolutely, and that's why
Absolutely.
we set the
Absolutely.
procedure up, so that everyone
Yep.
will have an opportunity before any one person gets to speak 2 or 3 times. So that's in an effort to make it
Okay.
as fair as possible.
I didn't know we could bring in a slideshow. If I had, I would have learned how to do one. This is, I'll give you each one. The map that's shown there is really only half of the proposed development. The development is ultimately 92 units. But I'm going to give you the orange highlighted piece is the part that is currently constructed.
Thank you.
Sure, that'd be great. We'll share.
Big red one? So when you look at that map, it looks like they're pretty completed, but in reality, it's, my map isn't as pretty as yours. Mine is a taped together mess. And so is ours. This little piece here is what's on this map, but there's also this whole section to consider here that is part of the 92 approved units. So this is only half the development. There's another whole section. So the letter that I sent you detailed the 26 units that are currently constructed and sold. It adds in the 7 units that Mr. Malone is in the process of building, and then there's more than 50 units left to be built. In the design of this approved development, this whole section that goes all the way up almost to the border of the property, very close to Route 105, is a series of duplexes, triplexes, single units, and behind each section of units, there are driveways. And what we understand the proposal is that these driveways become streets, be given street names, and we find that a real problem because right now it's very easy to find everything. We have a 2-lane street called Village Drive, a 2-lane street called Sunrise Drive, and a 2-lane street called Garden Circle, and ultimately there will be another circle that's as yet unnamed. All these driveways are single-lane streets. They aren't even streets. They don't have curbs. They don't have sidewalks. Several of the homes, very many of the homes that are the rear of the homes face those driveways. Several of them don't even have doors, you know, that leave the house to go to the driveway. You have to go through the garage. So it's not a very safe access if you're wheeling in a stretcher when you don't have a door to get it through. So, and coincidentally, a couple nights ago, I took one of our neighbors to the hospital, and while the emergency crew was preparing to move him from St. Albans to Burlington, I asked them, I said, you know, when you come up to our development, where do you go? How do you know where to go? And they always go to the front door because it's the shortest distance from the 2-lane street into the house and back out again. To go to the back door, you have a longer run to go, which when there's snow on the ground can be very challenging. Now, I can read aloud my 4-page letter, which I don't think you really want to hear again. I hope you've all read it.
They did
Yeah.
receive it.
We have.
Yep. I don't have much more that I really need to say. We've got the map. I did have one little bit of, somebody asked me, what is this development going to benefit the town? And right now, with our current tax rate and our current property values, our 26 sold units generate $109,000 for the town. If Mr. Malone sells his 7 units for $250,000 each, and they aren't going to go that cheap, I can promise you, that'll be another $29,000 for the town. If 59 more units are constructed at the current tax rate, that's another $248,000 for the town, of which, at that point, $304,000 is all education tax. Now, our development is a 55 and older community. We send no children to school. We do pay school tax. We maintain our own streets, sidewalks, and streetlights. We pay highway tax. We own our own water and sewer lines. The only thing we get from the town is fire, emergency, and police services. So we're just asking that you really consider 92 elderly units and safe and easy access for emergency vehicles.
And that's exactly what we would consider, and that's our main
Sure it is.
objective. And as far as asking what value you are you people are to the town, you're quite a value to us. It's more than just taxes. You shop here, you buy clothes here, you buy gasoline here. I mean, I consider you an asset to this town by all means.
Well, I want to make sure that when someone in a unit that doesn't have a back door, what we call the rear of our building right now, our back door, when they need an ambulance at that house, that they don't have to move a car, have somebody parked in the driveway and have to move that car, and then have an emergency unit with a stretcher, who can't get into the unit? That's
The
our biggest
safety and
concern.
well-being of individuals far exceed anything else. that we
And
can-
it's not just our safety,
Yeah.
it's the safety of the crews that we're
Oh,
also
absolutely.
concerned about.
But
Yeah.
from what I get from your letter, correct me if I'm wrong, please. I think you state that when the emergency vehicles show up, for example, in Amcare, they do in fact enter through the front of the houses.
That's right,
Okay.
because that's the shortest distance from the ambulance to the house.
And so those are on the named streets.
Yep.
All right, and therefore they're E911 compliant, whatever it is.
Well, that's the bone of contention, whether they are or not. Apparently, there's some question.
Okay, well,
But I'm not gonna address that issue. I'm gonna turn
somebody else
that
will
over
look
to
at it.
another
Just
board member.
get it in my own head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're
Just
gonna,
make sure I'm not missing what you said.
Yep.
Right now, they go to the front of the building.
They always go
Okay, right.
either on Garden Circle, Village Drive, or Sunrise Drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also asked the crew, you know, how do you know where to go? Imagine that, they use GPS. So,
Well, thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for your information.
okay. And this next gentleman, do you wanna go first, or do you wanna have Dathan talk?
I think, my name is Bernie Messier. I'm also on the association board. The biggest thing, I think, and without going over everything that Joan said, is we just want everybody to understand that there is front access to every unit that's there and every unit that's gonna be built without having to name a driveway, a street. So that's what we can't understand why we want to reinvent the wheel. Why do we want to name a street and have an ambulance go in the back door? The other thing that we're concerned about is fire. We have a retired fire chief from the city of Burlington who's in our development.
Mhm.
He could probably talk to that a lot better than I could, but I mean, I'm sure there's widths to streets and things like that where you're not gonna bring fire equipment in a driveway. For a number of reasons. You don't want them in there if you have a problem and you need to move them out real quick. Your hydrants aren't gonna be in the back of the house. There's a lot of things like that that we think people need to kind of look at. I think one of the things we'd like to ask is people just come and take a look at what we're talking about. We asked the fire chief to come up and he didn't make the meeting with us. Just give us 15 minutes of everybody's time if you would. We'd just like to show you what we're talking about if there's a question, rather than just look at a map.
When we look at this map, is it the red sections that we're talking
The
about,
red
that you refer
section
as
is the
driveways?
So, yes.
Right.
The red sections you
Yeah,
refer as driveways?
the
You know what I'm
blue
talking
is
about.
the currently built houses, the little houses in the corner there.
And
Pretty
the
much
red-
around
So
the
you're
corner.
talking about everything that kind of tees
Yeah.
off from here.
Right.
To the
And
back
those
of the
are
house.
those are the backs
The
of
T's
the
are the
units.
individual driveways of each house.
But you can't
And they're all one car wide, the whole.
So I'm asking shared driveways. I'm repeating my question.
so before we get to.
These orange things are not used by the emergency service at all, so it's a non-issue at the moment, I understand.
Before we get any more testimony, I think it'd be helpful to have Bill Hinman explain why they came to this decision.
Sure.
And then have the fire chief.
Only if you can stand back up and respond.
Oh, that's what I was talking about with the 3 minutes, but I don't think everyone from
So,
your association.
when you're looking at, hey folks, when you're looking at this reddish orange, okay, with tees,
Get it out.
All right, that's fine.
all the fronts of these houses, these apartments are on either Sunrise Drive or Village.
Or Garden
These are
Circle.
the backs of the units.
Gotcha,
That they would give
gotcha.
a name to, so that the address will be based on this, not the main drive.
Okay.
Let's see what's being proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, you have your objection.
Bill,
before
why
we
don't
get
you
the
come,
proposal.
why don't you come up, take a seat?
So we've talked about this a little bit before.
Yep.
And we had to understand it's probably be brought to your attention. You know, just to start with, for everybody that lives in the development, our whole intention with this process was twofold. Number one, to bring the town into compliance with a decision that was made by the select board to bring properties that were being developed in the community into 911 compliance as the state standards apply. And we found that that wasn't being done. And so, being relatively new here over the last year, we felt it was important to start doing that so that we move forward, we have a consistent basis to go by that follows the state E911 standards. It's really important that the property owners understand we're not doing this to do harm to anybody. You're very important to us, your taxpayers. You pay all of our salaries. So with that said, when we originally did our changes to the E911, we started with Harborview, and that was relatively straightforward and simple. They're single-family detached homes. Then we came across Franklin Park West, which is in the process of being developed. So E911 addresses are going to be coming online as we move forward. In order to try and come into compliance with the E911 standards, we worked very closely with Tyler Hermanson, who is the state representative, who is the coordinator, if you will, for E911. And whenever we had questions or concerns as to what the appropriate methodology was for assigning E911, we went to him as our backdrop. There is one question that we want to follow up with Tyler, and whether it applies here, we don't know. And actually, Al brought this up with me, and that is whether or not those short streets that were on the driveways, if it's ever been looked at as an alley. And if in case it has, then we need direction from the state as to what the appropriate way to treat them are. Because again, we're looking to do it fairly, but consistently. Now, within the process of making the decisions that we did as far as the 911 addresses, we did consult with Bob Cross in regards to emergency vehicles and local ambulance service. And I think that we have a disagreement with what we believe to be safe access to these properties through driveways versus what the property owners believe to be safe access. One of the subjects that was brought up, and I'm sure we brought up again tonight, is snow. Driveways generally are kept clear of snow, and emergency vehicles, if they have to pull into a driveway, can pull into a driveway. As it stands right now with the addresses on Village Drive, there may be a plow that goes through during a significant snow event, and then there's snowbanks. 911 addresses identify the front of the house, if you will, to Village Drive, but it's not the access point, which is the driveway, which is the trigger for 911. And so that's why we had to decide, unfortunately, to go with the driveways. And Tyler, we consulted with Tyler, and he indicated that was the correct way to go with this. In regards to names of the streets, within my letter to the property owners in Franklin Park West, I indicated that we would gladly sit down with them and have them give us input as to what they felt the appropriate name would be for those individual roads if they wanted to be something different. So we simply sought out a name from Malone Properties, and those were the names that were given by Malone when we provided those names.
Well, you brought up an interesting fact about snow removal.
Yes.
Okay? And I think I would find snow removal more difficult in this alley, per se, than I would on Village Drive, Garden Drive, or Sunrise Drive.
That very well might be true. My take on it is when you have a large road where a snowplow is going through, making large, snow drifts or piles of snow, that's going to be more difficult to get through than standing snow of 6 inches or so on the driveway.
But if you can't get off Sunrise Drive to get into one of those alleys, what good does it do you?
Well, I guess that's a question the select board's going to have to
Yeah,
ask
we
itself.
will do some thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here just as a representative of
Nope,
E911,
you brought
trying to
something
follow
up,
the
so-
rules, trying
Yep.
to follow the rules that were dictated by the state 911 system.
Sure.
If the select board believes that, my decisions and conclusions are incorrect, then so be it. I mean, I'm not the
Well,
decision maker.
the fire chief is here too, so
Yes.
you can bring him up and he's
Yeah.
gonna speak to the public safety aspect, because you didn't make that decision
No.
on your own
No,
either.
and we appreciate what you're doing too.
Forgetting the snow question.
Yep.
Assume we were living in Florida, we just have flooding. Where would you look at the primary entry points?
The E911 specifically states that 911 address shall be established based upon driveway location.
Based on driveway.
Driveway location. Where your driveway is where your 911 number is.
And in most cases, that's fairly obvious, in this one, it's just a little.
Yeah.
Well,
This
it's in
one
the
is,
back of the house.
this one is a little bit different.
Back door, yeah.
I would not argue that one for a second, but again, in the numbering system that we have and trying to follow what the select board passed for an ordinance and what the state has, it's clear that we were pretty much, our hands were tied as to saying driveways, if you have 3 or more houses off a road, that's considered a road, it must be named. If you have driveways, that access that specific road access, that's a road with a 911. And so that's the way we did it. We're not trying to say, well, in this case, we're gonna do it this way because it's more convenient and the property owners feel that their safety is better supported. I'm gonna rely on Bob Cross for that answer. I'm just saying 911 says that these street names and driveways are the ones to be used.
On this drawing, Bill, it shows, it looks like sidewalks that are around this perimeter of this one block.
Mm-hmm.
Are those sidewalks kept open in the wintertime?
Always.
That's good.
And the snow between the sidewalks and the building is removed if it gets any accumulation.
Now, it also shows that there's some sort of a sidewalk to the street. Is that kept open in the wintertime
Yes.
to the
Oh, yeah.
street?
Yeah.
Joan had indicated when we had met the first time after we sent the letters out, that every single property owner maintains a sidewalk access to the curb.
No, the
On their own.
association maintains a sidewalk access from the street to the front door of every house.
At all times in the wintertime. So that's, again, a consideration, but not from my perspective, is that my job is to follow the regulations as they're been adopted.
Joan, I've been up there in the winter, I go up there a bit, and folks know me, I've knocked on your doors, and I have to agree with you. They look pretty well maintained to me every time I went up there.
Bunch of old folks, that's why I tell my guy all the time.
Nobody asked me to shovel their walk.
No, if you came your back door, you'd have to bring your own snow blower dog.
It's a dangerous question. How flexible is the E991 dog? Yeah, in other words, if something makes more sense,
Sure, that certainly is a good question. And the Pandora's box answer is that more or less everything that E911 tells us to do is not stated in statute, with the exception of a few things. 5.28 feet is one of them, or number. But there's no real regulations. That's why you have many communities. I mean, Burlington's a perfect example. They've never 911 anything up there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
And I live in Middlebury, and half of the town, and it's not just the new developments, it's old roads and new roads and old developments and new developments. I live on a 2468 street, whereas my neighbors a street down are on a 911. So it is a hybrid. So I think my job, as I see it, and again, your direction, and I'm gonna come to you each time that there's something like this happens, is if you want to go a different direction, then that's so be it, but I have to follow the rules that you set out for me.
No, see, I can understand where you're coming from, Bill, as far as these driveways, because I think it's a design problem, and because you could have the numbering on the streets if they could access without weaving through between the houses. Because logic says if you come to the house and it's, number 11, you can go around the house,
Right.
and there's a driveway there that leads into the garage. Because typically, if you've got an emergency vehicle, you're gonna wanna get into that area, usually by the garage. The problem with this design is that you gotta kind of weave in the back sides of those houses, and it's hard to find anyways.
Right.
And to me, this would be something that, either through the planning commission, through the bylaws, or through the DRB, where they look at something like this and say, this doesn't work for 9/11 because this is a bad design.
Right.
And not to have it, I don't think it's, in this design of this development, it would occur anywhere else, or at least what I'm seeing, except for in those squares right there, where that's a major problem, where you can't get into the garages or know where the garages are.
Sure. Just to quickly touch on that, it's a really raises a really important question is that when I first got handed the ordinance from Jen to look at, I showed it to Becky and she said, where does this come from? She started working after the 911 ordinance was passed and she was unaware of it. Leslie, I'm assuming, is also unaware of it as a lister. So there was really no policing occurring at all.
Correct.
In the process over the last 10 or 11 years. And so I agree that, you know, and when we started looking at the ordinance, we started talking about when do these numbers get assigned? How are they assigned? Do we get building permits out before they're assigned, when the curb cut's done, and so forth? So we can be on top of it going forward. The only other thing I quickly comment on is that, and Bob will probably touch base a little bit, is if the board decides to give a specific direction with respect to alleys, for lack of a better term, there are still issues that need to be fixed in here. There's a couple houses that have a number of, say, 104, and then a couple houses down it goes to 215 or 210. And Bob's comment was, if we see a 104 at the end of the street, we're driving all the way around the corner because we know it's a long way away. So we do need to specifically address some of these 911s where the driveway is obviously there.
Well, that's, yeah.
That was in the letter, that we
Yeah.
understood the numbering needed to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, the street names.
Yeah.
Okay,
From what's being built right now, it looks like it's, something is workable. But when you move out to the build-out, it looks like it's gonna be very, very difficult to maneuver a big piece of equipment. Maybe no egress in some places.
well, why
I
don't
would
we,
defer to Bob on that.
Bill,
Okay.
if you're done, if the board has any more questions for you, I'd like to get the chief up here.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
Bob's
question?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever actually physically visited the site?
I have driven through, yes.
Have you gotten out of the car and looked out back where you're calling the alley?
Yeah, I drove down the alley, turned around and came back out. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
First of all, you drive into the development on Village Drive. To access the driveway, we have to go to another street and go to the back lane. Whereas all the fire hydrant and all the accessibility comes right through. So he's talking about the back garages, that's like the size of an alley. Mr. Vogel this weekend came over and looked at it. He's got pictures of it.
Yeah. That's why I'd like to get the opinion of the chief. Phil, thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like me to stay for the
You
remainder
can
of the
stay,
hearing?
yeah, just for this section if you wouldn't mind.
Chief,
There's
want to come
another
up?
chair.
Take a seat?
Sure.
You can,
Why don't you guys sit right next to each other?
I know. Yeah. Brothers in arms here.
So my name's Chief Cross, from the St. Albans Town Fire Department. I understand your concerns. Public safety is my biggest concern for the town of St. Albans, regardless of where you live. It doesn't matter to me. I don't see the development up there. I think it was poorly put together myself. But I've always considered the front of the house, the driveway part of the house. I talked with Walt Kroll from Ampere and asked him if he'd had any situations where he's had any problems up there, and he said no. In the fire service, if you've got an ex-fire chief from Burlington in the fire service, we access from any point that we possibly have to. I mean, it's going to be different. Every situation is different. The front of the house could be the back of the house for us. Depends on where the fire is. My biggest concern as far as the main road, which you're calling the front of your homes.
Jordan Street.
Yeah, what you're calling the front of the homes, which is the Franklin
Village
Village
Drive
Drive.
changes.
My biggest concern there is there's no driveways there to get cars off the street that are visiting. So if there is a fire there and you have visitors and you're calling that the front of your home, if you have cars parked there, that's going to make it more of a bigger problem for us to access the property than there is for anything else. So,
That's where they're all parked in the back.
pardon me?
That's where they're all parked is in the back.
No, what I'm saying is you're calling the front of your house Village Drive. When I visit somebody, when I go to visit somebody, I park in front of their house. Okay, usually in the driveway, and you're calling that the front of your house. So the street can't be used as a driveway, it's gonna create a problem for access for emergency vehicles. That's my biggest point as far as that goes. The biggest problem I have is with the numbering system on the homes. Like I said, we're at 111 and it goes right to 207 or something like that.
No, we agree with that. We said that right along with that needs to be changed. That's never been an issue for us.
But
The numbers are
as
crazy.
far as access goes, our trucks can access any point, any part of those back driveways. We can maneuver around those at any time, anywhere, any place. And wintertime isn't gonna be any different. You guys have to plow that to get your vehicles in and out too, correct?
Yes, we do.
So it will be
There
plowed.
won't be a sidewalk, but there'll be a driveway.
Right. And like I said, I've talked to Walt, and we've helped them on numerous occasions, taking people in and out of homes and stuff. We've never gone
Walt
to.
doesn't come to the door. His crew's there.
Well, his crew was there when I went and talked to Walt, and Walt made a point to call them out back and ask them about access points and
Well,
stuff.
when you come up and visit, you can talk to the neighbors and they'll tell you all the emergencies.
Most of the time when we go to an emergency, when we go to a home, most of the time somebody's there directing us the easiest way to go to get into the access of the house. That's the way it is for emergency services anyways.
Well, it's easy when they come to your front door, because you stand at your front door and put your light on. But these places, you'd
Not
have
even
to
a
walk
streetlight
up,
behind the houses.
you'd have to walk up to the main street in order to flag them down to go out back. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it doesn't, so you don't absolutely, for emergency services, you don't absolutely have to go to the back side of the house or the front side of the house. Whichever access is easiest for an access point to the home is where they're gonna go in. Doesn't matter.
And everybody parks in the back, like where you've got
The homeowners.
the homeowners.
The homeowners do it.
Most
Not the
people
guests.
have two cars
Not the
up
guests. Where
there,
do you
so
guests
there's,
Right on the
they're in the
street.
garage,
Right,
they're in the
that's where our
driveway.
problem is as far as an access point. If you have a bunch of guests parked in the street and we have a call up there, where are emergency vehicles gonna go?
You
Well,
want
give us
most
a-
of
Why
the-
do you
Just
make it
cars,
a street?
anybody else.
If you park on the street, you have a fire, where do you go?
You only have
The
one
car is right there.
If we're gonna have comments, we really need people to stand up and say
Yeah,
their
we'll
name.
take the comments one at a time,
And
too,
if Bob
please.
Cross is done, then, because we can't take minutes.
I have one more question for you, Tom.
Sure.
When you go on a call to the fire truck, my understanding is that in this area, if there's a fire in St. Albans City, the town backs them up.
Correct.
If there's a fire in the town, the city will back you up.
Correct.
So I can see in what's currently Crabapple Lane or whatever the heck the street is by Malone's new buildings. You're gonna have a fire truck go in behind those buildings, because that's supposedly a street. You're gonna have another fire truck go behind them, because it's supposedly a street.
More than likely, we'd back into
Well,
that
please,
street.
just-
Sure.
You won't be able to back in, and that, I can promise you can't, because there's no place to turn a vehicle in there. Anyway, so both your fire trucks are in there. How do you get them out?
We don't put both fire trucks in there, man.
Okay.
Well, Al has a question.
Bill, you mentioned, somebody mentioned that all the houses have a GPS address?
Currently, as assigned with 911, they have GPS. So the post office currently has what we believe to be the GPS location based upon the address that was given to them originally. So part of the process in this whole change is that we would be sending new addresses to the U.S. Postal Service, which would identify those units and the new driveways where they are. So, finding the units in a GPS-like situation, it's going to tell them where it is, and you know whether to go out back or out front. Again, I'm not the one to comment as far as that
Right,
goes.
so my next question is to the chief. Do your fire trucks carry the GPS locations? You don't have computers in the truck?
We go by
not
street
yet.
names. Not
Not
yet,
yet.
no, but we go by street names. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, Al?
Yeah.
Sir?
Yes, as far as we're concerned for the fire department, we have all of our hydrant in the front, on the main street. You go out back, you're gonna go out to go in between the condos and get to the fire hydrant. But if you stay on Village Street, for instance, a fire hydrant are right there.
Our first due truck in doesn't make a hydrant. The second due truck in does. So what the second due truck in does is backs in, hooks to the first arriving engine and drives to the hydrant, and then makes the hydrant. That's how we operate up there in most developments.
Yes, sir.
I'm the fire chief from
Okay.
Vermont. Chief Cross, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You reverse lay, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You reverse lay.
Yes.
So you only have your initial pumpers at the fire scene?
1,000 gallons of water on board.
I understand. Have you had an opportunity to come up and take a look at our situation?
I've driven around the.
Have you got out of your vehicle and actually taken a walk around?
No, I have not.
You should do so, and I asked the board if they have an opportunity to do so as well. The roads that we're talking about do not even meet minimum requirements to be called a street. If you go on the National Association for Planning website, you'll see that a street has a minimum requirement of being 20 feet wide. The road behind the new buildings is only 16 feet wide, and the width of the road between the 3-plex and the 4-plex is only 17 feet wide. So they don't even meet the minimum requirements. Now, I don't know about you, but in my heyday, which is a long time ago, but we always tried to put our apparatus in a safe situation, collapse, explosion, what have you. And I gotta tell you, Chief, you put your apparatus in the rear of these buildings, you're asking for trouble. And I think if you take the opportunity to come up and just take a look at it, you would agree. And hydrant locations, as you come into our development, we have hydrant locations, but they're spotty. Whenever the permits were allowed for the hydrants to be placed, due diligence wasn't being utilized.
That whole development, sir, was like that. And to tell you the truth, we didn't have a full-time person on the department at the time to be able to watch over situations like that. And I've had a talk with Mr. Balone on some of the hydrant placements along through there. So that is something that's being addressed.
It's a godsend we have them.
Right.
Believe me. But as you come into the development, some of them are 20 yards out into a field.
Oh, absolutely.
You know. Anyway, that's my gimme, but please take the opportunity and come up and take a look at what we're dealing with.
Could you state
Thank
your
you.
name for me, please?
Dayton Contois, 106 Garden Circle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Bill Messier?
Mary Foster. I live on Village Drive, and I'm concerned, I assume Village Drive is going to stay there, so is my front door going to have one address and my back door another address? That sounds kind of confusing to me for any emergency.
Well, I think the common sense to this is that it's so that not only just fire, but emergency vehicles or your friends or relatives can find you. A lot of times if you need an ambulance and need to get to your garage, just about finding the home. To me, it sounds like you just need signage. Now, when we did Grice Brook Garden Estates, we had the house facing the road, if you would, and all the garages in the back. And so we were worried that emergency vehicles wouldn't be able to get to the garage, so we put up signs that said units 104 with an arrow, and then, units 112 with an arrow that way. So that if the numbered system stayed the same, but at the end of these driveways, there was an arrow that said, you can get to the same number. That so someone coming into development, let's say your number is 106, that yes, they could get, like, I think Bob could put fire protection any side of that house he needs to. But if I needed to get, or an emergency vehicle needed to get to your garage, they know that you're 106 on one of the streets, but they gotta go around back. They can still say, okay, I can get to the back of 106 and I'm not wandering all around through the back alleys. So, is there presently signs on the corners of these shared driveways?
There are numbers.
So if you did have signage that said the numbers to this row of houses and kind of just pointed to the houses, wouldn't an emergency vehicle or a relative or whatever be able to find the back of these houses or the garages of these houses? Wouldn't that solve it for this particular development? I mean, I think in the future, there should be better planning on the roadways, but would that be an answer for now, so that they don't, so that you can find the backs of the houses?
The driveway between Joan Wood again. The driveway between the fourplex and the triplex. The fourplex is on Village Drive, the triplex is on Sunrise Drive. The feeder driveway comes off Sunrise Drive. So would you put a sign at the end of that driveway saying Village Drive 116,
If your house was on, I don't know what that must be, Village Drive, and I see it, I can see, okay, that's Joan, that's her house, but I'm supposed to go to the garage, and I know I can't drive across your lawn, I gotta go find how to get to your garage, so I go around the block, and I see an arrow that says matches your address, I can go in the back and find you, right? That basically the problem is,
yeah, but there's no parking back there for you.
how do you get
There's
your garage?
only enough parking for the people who live there.
No, what I'm saying is if I'm making a delivery to your garage, or I'm gonna, gonna get an ambulance in there to get to your garage, get you out. And logic says that I know I can't go, I might not go through the front of your house, but I wanna get to the back. And I drive around the block and your number matches in the back, the same as the front.
Okay.
Which is, that's the same
On
problem that we
some of the
had.
houses, that would work, yes.
Yes, and that
But
would.
if you live in the triplex, the front of your house where the front door is on Sunrise Drive. The back of the house where the alley is, there's no back door. There's a slider that doesn't have a sidewalk.
Well, would it hurt though if the sign still pointed to that, and so you have options? I mean, just so they could find it. All I'm saying is trying to find a cure where you don't have to make the crazy change in names and numbers, but people can find you logically with a little bit of signage change. Does that make any sense?
I'm Bernie Messer again. What you're saying then also makes sense. Why reinvent the wheel stand? We already have the fronts of our houses on Sunrise Drive and on Village Drive. Why change everything?
Well, you aren't changing it, you're saying that to get to your house, to get there, if I was to try to get to the back, to the garage of, let's say, this house right here.
Like if you're UPS, you're saying like you're UPS?
Yeah, I'm a UPS guy, and I drive by the front, I don't wanna walk, give the toss out onto the lawn, I wanna bring it to your back, and so I go around, and I see an arrow that says, drive in here and drop the package by the back, by wherever.
But you drove in on Village Drive, okay?
Yeah.
For instance, and my house, in the front of my house is there with my number. Why do we wanna create another street behind the house?
No, not in the
To
street,
have
I
them
just
go
put
to-
a number on it so that it's the same number as the front of your house. That's all we did is.
But whoever's driving in is gonna think that number is for Village Drive, because that's in front of the house.
Okay, folks, I don't really think that we're gonna
Yeah,
cure
you need to
this
look at it.
tonight. So a suggestion was just made, and I agree with it 100%, is that the select board do a site visit to your properties and ask the chief to attend with a truck,
Yes.
Fair enough.
okay?
So if I could just add one more thing.
Yep.
The question was asked as to how cast and concrete are these 911 regulations that were put out by the state. I think the question was made earlier as
Yep.
to how rigid are they on that. This Tyler Hermanson, who's the E911 state specialist that everybody goes to, has been involved with the email chain that went back and forth. And when we put our question to him regarding the fronts and the back and what have you, one of the answers that he made to Joan was that you do have a point with large numbers of roads, which may qualify for other address standards, similar to how a city would be addressed. He says typically corner lots like this, or lots that have a door facing a particular road, may be more logical to have their addresses on that road.
Okay.
So there is leeway,
Yeah. There's lots of things, there's lots of possibilities here. And what we want to do is work collectively to come to a logical understanding and solution. So we're suggesting that we have the select board go up, take a look at the site so that we're all familiar with it, ask the chief to come up with a truck and check this accessibility status out.
And so
So-
we'll let Joan know.
Yeah, we will
So you're
contact Joan,
gonna coordinate.
let you know
Okay.
the time and date,
Yep.
and let's do that. Let's,
I'll try and have Pat Malone there too, because this is a real concern for him. going forward.
What I don't like to do is
Changes, you
Mr.
have to remember as a
Malone,
developer for Mr. Malone,
Mr. Malone didn't have anything to do with this design.
Right.
He
However,
inherited that.
he bought that.
He inherited it, but let's
That is
not
an
make the
approved
same
plan.
mistake again. Pardon me?
His plan has already got Act 250 approval, town approval, all the permits are approved.
Yeah,
Changes requires a lot of money.
yeah.
A curb cut costs a lot of money because you have to get all these approvals, you know that.
Well, you know,
I'm not gonna start putting tabs on him.
No, I don't want to point the finger at him, and I don't want this to become a financial burden for him. Because I think we owe Mr. Malone a bit of gratitude for what he's done. I mean, he's come into your development, your area, he's fixed it up, he's corrected a lot of the mistakes, and knowing a little bit about him, I'm sure he's gonna continue to improve things for you folks. So let's not point the fingers at each other. Let's work collectively and try to come up with a logical solution. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
One more thing.
And that is, I know where Mr. Smith is coming from, however, to me that would be misleading. We presently have, if the chief of police comes with his truck on Village Drive, the houses are all well marked, and to make it easier on visitors, are probably people that are visiting us, so we tell them to park in the back a lot in front of our garage. It's also marked, as well as in the front.
Okay,
Numbers.
The numbers are all on each unit.
okay. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
We appreciate it.
Yep. Bill, you gotta stay right where you are. Thank you, Bob. Okay, we're gonna continue the meeting, moving right along with errors and omissions. And Bill, you're up again.
I'm up again. All right. So you have in front of you errors and omissions. We have a kind of significant change that we didn't anticipate happening. In past years, the Department of Veterans Affairs has provided qualified individuals based on disability of over 50% with a letter, which they have supplied to our office. And then we in turn give that property owner a 40% reduction on their assessment. $40,000 reduction on their assessment, thank you. Of which the town, or the state has allowed for $10,000 and the town has voted in $30,000, which they're by statute allowed to do. This year they changed the rules and we received emails. Those emails were vague, they were distorted, they weren't in order. And the final one that we got that wasn't ordered included these 9 that were not in our program. So the benefit is that there were probably 9 veterans that had not received benefits previously that had deserved it. And now that they've changed it to a system where the state is actually administering it rather than just relying on the property owner to provide the letter, we're able to pick up 9 that were not available before.
You know what? I have no problem with that.
Yep.
We owe that to them. It's something that we offer in this town, and if they were overlooked, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the errors and omissions.
As a veteran, I second it.
Is he gonna
Now, are
finish
you-
his presentation?
Right, I think he's gonna
You
finish
can-
the
you
other.
can
We got a couple others that are really doing it.
Right.
You can finish the presentation, but this is me to
So the rest of these are very, very minimum. The second one are campers that were removed from Pioneer Campground. I didn't know there was campground with seasonals, I do now, so we will be tracking that. The third is simply a change in the homestead declaration. I went back to 2013, they had filed a 30% commercial use, and had not since 2013. I regularly do a compare and contrast from year to year, typically 2 years back, to make sure that homestead declarations that had previous commercial declarations on them, and now do not, are correctly implemented. But this was 2013, and so it just, it was not on my radar.
Yeah.
Brian Stuckey came in and indicated that his trailer was not a 1999, as we had it listed in the system as an 88, and provided me with a VIN, which we confirmed, and so the number is a trailer is very, very, very sensitive to the state. So we suggested changing that to $1,000. And number 5 is a personal property account that we never received, so we need to add it on. The long and the short of this is that the net change as far as the expenses or the income present from municipal taxes is $3,834.97. Of which you see the largest part is the $3,900 for the veterans.
Okay.
Just one quick side note, it has been a policy of the state that all veterans exemptions have to be in by May 1st. All the other towns that I work in, it's my policy that I will give them up to the last moment I possibly can. And so we typically do our last errors and omissions in the middle of November. And if anybody gets added to this list before November, I will bring it to their names too as well.
Any questions from the board?
Do you contact the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars for their new members that are coming in from Afghanistan and Iraq?
I do not.
Should we?
That's not a bad idea. I mean, I think that, you know, now that the Department of Veterans Affairs is actually giving us downloads and identifying, they've actually put it into a computer system. And so everybody that they already knew was eligible, now it's forwarded directly to us as eligible rather than relying on the individual property owners connecting with us.
So it goes directly to you?
Yes, it's going directly to our office.
Okay.
Actually, it's a mass email that has all of the towns in the state of Vermont on it.
There are still, I belong to a couple of veterans groups in Essex Junction and Colchester. And these veterans come to us all the time, and they may or may not actually go through one of the so-called filters. Vermont also Veterans Affairs, the American Legion, the VFW, and so on. And if we can pick them up, and if we can learn about them, it's sort of an ongoing, as people come to our groups, the new people, we try and inform them that there is a 50% or more disabled, so that they know. And then we get them plugged into the Vermont also Veterans Affairs, which is the official state clearinghouse for
Veterans Affairs will be firm enough to qualify.
They are now tasked with the verification. Even though a veteran typically will come to one of our offices, they have the VA paperwork that states their percentage of disability and a lot of other personal information that we probably shouldn't have, you know, to become public. But we redirect them because that's the way the law is written. Is that Vermont also Veterans Affairs is responsible for that.
If I just came out of Afghanistan and settled in St. Albans, would I automatically know, would the Veterans Affairs automatically notify the town?
It's hit or miss, because often a veteran will be discharged, taken out into the community, and may or may not choose to affiliate with one of the organizations.
I think
but without an organization affiliation, is it done by the Veteran Affairs Office?
I think it's actually done through the VA.
The VA?
Yeah.
If the VA hospital is the ones that make this decision and determination.
And boy, VA is, that's a busy place.
Yeah, and they're hit or miss.
Yeah,
Right.
they are.
I'm just wondering what the town might do to advertise this opportunity for veterans that are coming out of service.
I'm a member of the American Legion of Middlebury as a SAL, and so I can certainly reach out to the individuals I know would have those answers for me, and get back to you.
Another one for our folks up here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be on it'd be at the statewide level that we probably would reach out to try and make this a statewide thing, rather than individual post to post. And then I know many individuals in the VFW that could probably do this.
Good. Okay.
Great.
So, is that it, Bill?
That's all I got.
That's the motion.
To have a motion.
We gotta
We have to start the conversation.
I understand that. I asked him if he was done.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to make sure he's done.
All right.
Now the motion is the.
So what I'd like to do is, we're going to amend the last motion.
I'll just make a motion.
I'll just make a motion to approve the errors and omissions as presented by Mr.
So,
All those in favor? Well, the amount is $3,834.97. Reduction, minus. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you guys for your
Took a long way around, but we got it done.
We've done the easy one first.
Sir.
Exactly.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks,
Take
Paul.
care. See you guys.
See you next week.
tomorrow.
Yeah, hope so.
Okay, so I guess we have a request now for, well, we have the town manager's report.
Yep, we're there. So I'm gonna go with the new items we added because I think they're fairly straightforward. We added our household hazardous waste collection in the town. Just a notice to let people know that it's happening on Saturday, August 12th, which is this coming week. And the Northwest Solid Waste District has a pretty comprehensive website for what you can and can't bring to this solid waste collection, but we hold them at periodic towns within the county just so it can be close. So know that if you have some sort of hazardous waste, I'm not going to start naming them off because I know I'll miss some, but you can drop it off here at the town garage on Saturday. The second item is that the town select board was officially noticed by the public service board process. That Velco off Mason Street is doing some, I call it move and replace, but they're upgrading some of their equipment there. So you're going to cut a little bit of the scrub that's growing up around it. Looks like sumac or something like that. And replace it with more reliable, better equipment. So you'll see that notice, but that's what that phone book is. If anyone wants to see what they're doing, it's a really comprehensive report that they have to do. So that brings me to the first thing on my agenda, actually, which is the town is now using the state of Vermont. They allowed us to use their state of Vermont alert system. That means that it's the same system you get Amber Alerts on, and often some other emergency information. What we need from the public, though, is kind of critical. We need your assistance, and you have to sign up for this program. So we don't magically know anyone's cell phone number or email. We do not know necessarily even your landline that you prefer to use. So if you want to be notified that the town has a road closure, maybe it's flooding, maybe it's just construction, maybe there's a fire and they've blocked the roads so that you know ahead of time you shouldn't go down that road. We now have the capability with about 6 different department heads to put that notice on Vermont Alert. And we can actually do it in a radius of a section of town. So it's not like everyone who lives in town is going to be notified every single time we close a road, unless it's a major road or it's a really big fire or something like that. But this can help us if for some reason we needed to evacuate, if there was a snow event that closed the roads. So we need people to actually go online and tell us how to reach you. So it could be your landline, it could be your email, it could be a text message. And we have on our website, and we'll have in paper here, the directions on how to do that, because it's not entirely intuitive. I mean, it took me a couple times. So it takes about 5 minutes maybe. But we have a step-by-step walkthrough, and it has pictures of the website so that it can tell people how to do it. But we really need to get the word out. I'm going to be asking the messenger to do it too, because this can be a very valuable tool for those of us that want to know when things are going on and why. And it's usually a pretty short thing. We've done a few tests. The fire chief knows how to do it. Alan, our DPW guy, knows how to do it, I think. And we've had instruction, both Jen and I, on how to, although I haven't done it in a couple months. So that's my mini commercial that we're trying to be more responsive to people in a manner that they choose. If you want us to just leave a message on your home phone, that message will go there.
How many different message points do you have?
You can have, I think, up to 3. I think you can have quite a few. Your landline, it can be a cell phone, and even an email. And also a text. So there's at least 4.
What was the 4th one?
A text message.
Oh, text message.
I
That
prefer a
works well.
text message.
I do
yeah.
too.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I signed up for it as well, and we're not going to send it for every little bump in the road. Literally, it's going to be some sort of emergency or road closure or weather event. So we're not going to.
You also have that choice. There's a whole list of things that you can be notified or not notified for.
That's correct. I mean, I first experienced it when I had kids in school, and they asked all the parents to sign up for it so you know when the school's closed. I mean, now most of I don't have kids.
Great too.
I don't have kids in school anymore, but I still want to know when they can. And it's a program we can check. We can use it when we're simply closing a street to just let people know.
You get all the
Yeah, severe weather.
severe weather.
So the next item is the water wastewater allocation request, and that's what their labeling is, but it's the property on the corner of 36 and 104. It's diagonal across from the parking right there. Across from Crossroads Plaza. Yep. So you'll see that information in your packets. It's pretty straightforward. It looks like they're asking for a financial institution and a
Multi-purpose.
yeah, it says I was generic, multi-purpose.
It's right on the corner there, right across the street from.
Retail, office.
Right. We don't exactly know what they're putting in there.
Is the application from the development review board now?
I think they were coming here first, but yes, I think Becky also got an application. I just don't exactly know. I haven't seen those plans.
Pretty sizable building.
All we have in front of us is an outline of the buildings, not holding anything back.
So is this something you want to,
I'm looking for a
approve
motion to
tonight?
approve their request as explained on our form for water, 2,790, and wastewater, 2,570.
Anybody want to make a motion?
So,
Who's opposed?
okay.
Motion approved.
Motion approved?
Yeah.
Well,
Motion
thank you.
approved.
I was like, all right, good. The next item on here was the actual ordinance we just spent, I know almost an hour discussing, but with the proposed changes to our outdated E911, basically it's calling a street naming, numbering, and addressing ordinance. There's a couple reasons we brought it to you. One, it was one of our oldest ordinances and actually did need to update to reflect what we're doing now. But secondly, so I need you to look at that carefully and let me know if there's any more changes you want to make to it.
There's one error.
Okay, that's all the other copies.
Section 4.
Okay.
It goes by center line segment to 5280. Actually, should be 5.280. What, 1,000 mile?
Mm-hmm.
5 point, it's 5.28 feet. 5.2. You need the decimal point.
Yep. Okay, I get it.
This is not the motion yet. I guess I would suggest that we postpone this until after we have our site visit.
Well, that's what I was just gonna mention that. I'd like to kind of table this until after we do our site visit up at Franklin.
That's fine. I wasn't actually expecting that you would approve this tonight. I just
Yeah.
wanted you to see that Bill and Bob had reviewed the ordinance. I reviewed it briefly.
Okay.
And Becky reviewed it as well. But more importantly, I guess the other question I have for you today is, I had an applicant request renaming a road because there was a recent land purchase. And he'd like to give it his family survey. And I think that section of our ordinance really isn't under dispute. And if you look on page 1, and Bob Ware's letter stating that the select board can rename a road, but it has to be necessary to promote public welfare and safety.
Well, I guess it doesn't meet that, so I think we.
Is that a public road? Or is it a driveway?
Just going down by.
I met with this gentleman, and he said, he told me that it's a driveway, he owns the property, and there's one other house on it, his
Yeah,
property,
that
which I
is-
think is 2 buildings, and one other, and it's a driveway.
It's
Well,
a
how long
private-
is it?
It's
How
a
long is
private
it?
road, so
How long is it?
why would he have to, why couldn't he rename it private road?
So it's a private road, somebody asked that question.
Well, wait a minute. First it's a driveway, now it's a private road. What is it?
I didn't say it was a driveway, it's a private road.
You said it was a driveway.
Well, it is, I mean, there's 3 properties on it, he owns 2, and then he said he met with the neighbor didn't have a problem renaming it, but it isn't a public road.
Isn't there more than three dwellings on a road?
That's correct. I
It's
mean,
on a
our
road, that is street.
You have a question whether it's private, public or private.
private public, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, there's
It
more than
doesn't
3
matter, he
dwellings
still
on
has
it.
to follow this.
That's not a driveway.
This is down on the Palm Shore Road.
You got 3 houses,
Right, but I mean,
8 drives.
but if everyone on the road is okay with me renaming of the road, and not a, unless it's called Champlain or something that
And
we done
every
it.
time
but-
somebody buys a piece of property, I'm gonna show you road name.
Yeah, I mean, why do we have?
I did it by my house, it was Radar Base Road, and I asked request to go back to Bellevue Carriage Road, which was the original name of it, but we made the request, and it was fairly simple. All I'm saying is that. Huh? But it has happened in the past. This gentleman said, right, wrong, or different, he said that he owns the property. There's 3 properties on it, and it's basically, I mean, it's a driveway. I don't know what to call it. It's not a public road.
No, I hear what you're saying. I guess for the sake point of view, that if we changed it, then we've got this whole superstructure of changing it from.
What is the present name now?
Bevins.
He bought the property from Bevins.
I understand.
Bevins owned 3 properties on it. He had an auction a few years ago, and wanted to call it, or looking for it, and wanted to put his properties. He named it after himself. So this gentleman bought everything but one house that didn't go through the auction. And he wants to rename it after himself.
I understand that. I'm just talking about the logistics now, of trying to change that system more. And I think when you did your change, you probably didn't have all this technology available and the logistics of trying to change everything to street addresses that people want to change by ownership. Since ownership changes rather rapidly.
Well, I think it's whether we approve it or not, I don't think it's a request, it would be just not considered anyway. Because it's not, if it was a street and it was 5 or more houses or something like that, it might be different, but it was, basically it was a private landowner that put a sign up, named it after himself, and this guy bought the property.
I think that we're not just dismissing it, we're talking about it now. And I think that we're setting a bad precedence if every time an owner changes, we rename the street after the owner. Too complicated.
Just leads to chaos.
If he, in this case, if he owned all the properties, would it be a problem to rename the road? If he owned all the properties, would it make a difference to rename the road?
I wouldn't if he rented the other 2 properties.
I don't think that's the case. The case is we don't rename roads every time they're sold to somebody else. That's setting a bad precedent.
Well, I don't think it's per request. I don't think everybody has to rename the road every time they buy property, but
We could be,
per request.
On populated roads, I just don't understand how to administer that. I mean, what if there's, say, 10 people and 8 approve but 2 don't? Do you then, or do you have to have a quorum? I mean, I just don't understand how I objectively and not
And
subjectively.
then how do you let everybody in the world know that we change a road from A to B?
In this case, the guy, right, I'm concerned about going forward with, I know this road isn't an issue, I know we talked to his neighbors, I believe him, but I just feel like it sets that bad precedent that it's hard to change, to stick to later fairly.
It's like small road, small driveways, flash roads, there's only 2 parties on it.
so what we can do is, if you want, we can take a vote on the board whether or not to,
Since this is already part of
It's already part of your ordinance, you can
ordinance, we're
decide.
going to talk about
Right.
next week, or
Okay.
just
All right.
think about it.
okay.
Yeah, because if we're gonna, allow change from that, right now you can't change that, because this isn't a public
You
safety
should,
issue.
right.
So you have to decide if you want to change that section of the ordinance.
Okay, well, let's
And it doesn't have to be
let's think about it. Let's, get into this a little bit deeper and more.
So I'll call the.
By no means are we discarding it.
No, I understand.
Okay.
Just have to consider.
Do you want to call him back and tell him that we're thinking about it? or you
No,
want to-
I don't think it's necessary. I think it's,
Okay, I told him I'd call him back.
I think the best way would be.
Okay.
Okay. Or Carrie.
All right, so the next item is Rice Brook. And I did receive, so at the last meeting, I explained that I had talked to Ruggiano Engineering about the possibility of putting the intersection onto the sash. So what I have are, this goes, I know they're kind of big. So what this explains is it's just a conceptual plan, and I guess I can put it up for people to look at it, but it, yeah, you won't. So it kind of shows for, you can have to go out here, so the camera can see it. Like that. What it's gonna show is, this is the sash. This is one building that's closest to the St. Albans State Highway, or the sash as we call it. And in front of you, you have a conceptual idea that you could put a three-way intersection in here that would allow for right and left turning only, but also accommodate some pedestrian traffic, which, as Carol Thompson knows, we tried very hard to do a couple of years ago. We're narrowing our plans down and at this point suggesting that if we do an intersection here, we should accommodate light and pedestrian traffic. This plan calls for possibly just a 10-foot wide multi-modal use path, right? It would be gravel this one, just like the rail trail. But what it allows is, it could potentially allow those coming from the city and all those high school kids and a bunch of very young people that already have a boat path across this area of the sash. So what I'm bringing this plan to the select board to say, what do you think about this option? And should I explore moving forward? My next steps, if you're in agreement to do so, would be to find out how much it might cost us. You know, Alan and I have talked about this. I think that's one of the reasons Alan from DPW is here. That we believe, and I asked the engineer this too, we can do most of this work ourselves. It would obviously cost something for the signals, it would cost for some of the materials, but I think we would have a very good chance of getting a grant for the path portion of it. We were told last time that we tried to get the grant through. We applied for a grant for the whole thing. It was a $2 million project, and we asked for $1 million. It was a pretty aggressive thought, but they, at that time, the state said, we don't like the way you're crossing this highway. Try again. We try again next year with a more realistic budget and access point across the road. I think we have a good shot at getting it, and those grants were anywhere from 50% to a little bit less of a match. So if we could do this ourselves with a grant, I think we could get this done. I'm conservatively probably about $300,000 to $400,000. I think you're going to get some grant money, so I don't want only to that number.
Does the state support this conceptual thing?
The state did support that concept. In fact, suggested it when they told us we were a little crazy about trying to go underneath it.
Yeah, Bill, what do you remember last
They
time?
did.
Tunnel and all that.
Tunnel and all this stuff.
That's a $3 million.
Yeah, they didn't like that. A lot of people didn't like
Fair
it.
enough, like that. We also talked about, if you forget the Bryce Brook component, you're looking at crossing at either end of the accident, not crossing.
Right.
Well,
And I just went there again today, and my personal opinion is absolutely crazy to try to put any kind of crossing, high traffic, 50-mile-an-hour road to accommodate a very small population. And the Rice Brook issue, that can be straight up to 104, no problem in my mind. The rest of this pedestrian crossing, high crossing at 50-mile-an-hour road is absolutely insane. One has been.
but just to clarify, the pedestrian traffic we're talking about wouldn't necessarily just be Rice Brook.
I understand that.
I mean,
Pedestrian traffic at all, anything crossing that road at 50 mile an hour just doesn't fly in my view.
well, not without signals, which is what V-Trans was very clear about.
Well,
You know, I would be really interested in seeing what V-Trans thinks about this conception. Also very interested in seeing what kind of money we can get for grant. I think to say no right now, I'd like to follow through, see what V-Trans thinks of it, and see what we can get for grant money before we say no. I think we're too early. This is
just a conceptual
It's
plan.
conceptual. It could come back with V-Trans saying, sure, but
It starts getting a lot.
no pedestrian.
Grant money, you know what? That's crazy. No
Well,
one
I
on the
haven't,
road.
right, I didn't want to go a lot further without getting
You know, to
consensus.
me, unless you get a real imprimatur from the DOT, I wouldn't touch it. I would just, you know, it's wasting everybody's time.
One man's opinion, like you
That's
said.
right. But we have to get DOT before.
Well, absolutely, that's what I'm
Get it
saying.
ahead of time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Go to DOT first.
Let's move forward back to more information.
Well, and getting some confirmation, possibly in writing, of course, that they're.
Hey, this
fine.
might go to them and then say the same thing Bill says, no. Or they could say, they could come back with changes.
They were the ones that surprised us 3 years ago, maybe now, it was over 2, by suggesting this plan in the first
So,
place. I will do that.
proceed,
Yeah.
proceed, Jerry.
Gary, may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, that's Carolyn Thompson, she was on our bike pedestrian.
I was on the steering committee.
Steering.
Now, will we do the bike path from the school down to where the intersection is going to be, so that the kids can get over
Yeah,
to
so I understand. her
Collins
question-
Curly?
Right, her question is, and that was part of my proposal if we apply for a grant, is on this map, we show, it only shows a certain small section, but we are proposing to take that path on the north side to the school, cross the road, and then on the south side towards the complex, connect it to a path at Collins Curly. At this point, I was just proposing it would be an 8 to 10 foot gravel wide, you know, like a crushed stone type path, not necessarily concrete. But yes, that was our alternative. I think they get a lot, yeah, our chances are increased substantially if it's not only a vehicular traffic intersection, but we add the multimodal portion of that. And there's a lot of people that currently use that path. I've started using the path from Collins Curly. All different types of ages of people use that path. And if you could safely cross this road, you could then go all the way to Main Street, potentially, it's about a mile.
The path to connect to Main Street going
Through the city.
through the city, potentially to the new sidewalk that we're talking about, that goes all the way down to the Swan border.
Right.
Hey,
So,
kind of
it's kind of a dual fold type thing. Okay?
Yes, that's all I was gonna present at this point. The question that you had posed, I was going to discuss with them later.
Did you folks see that? You want us to take a look at one of these?
No, I can take it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right? Question, go ahead. Who has a question? Bob?
Well, I don't live up there, my brother does. I know Esther. It's all fine and good, but you got 5 units. Where are you gonna put that road in? My brother lives right next to it. You're gonna put signals out there. Those 5 units, probably Esther's unit, her house, it's gonna get a lot of truck noise, a lot of noise. And you just created a racetrack. Racetrack. And if you think it's not gonna happen, go over and look at Fairfax Street. We go over and walk on the complex. Fairfax Street, I would say, has at least 300% more traffic because of the lights up there. So if you open that road up right across, it's going to create an access for everybody that wants to get around that.
We're not opening the road all the way across.
Not going all the way
No, all the way
No.
across, but you're opening it up.
Sure.
They're just trying to get around the traffic. And they don't go slow.
Well,
I watched 3 of them Fairfax Street, a week and a half ago, 2 cars and a motorcycle, doing about 80, headed towards the city.
Okay.
A lot of people walk that road that you're gonna come across. I go and visit my brother quite a bit, and I've seen her walking it around that corner.
Okay. All right, Bob, thanks for your comments. Any other comments from the public?
I would just merely answer him by saying, it's no different than trying to exit Drysport Road after 104 at the present time. There's no light there, you get your light in your hands anytime between 7 and 9 o'clock a.m. The same thing between 4 and 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry,
I don't have any more under town manager report.
thanks for coming in. Household hazardous waste collection, we're all set?
Yep.
We're all set with public comment? I guess.
Oh, can we approve our minutes?
Sure.
That'd be fabulous.
Where are they?
Okay.
So moved.
Ow.
I gotta find them.
July 17th.
Oh, here they are. All right, so we're looking to approve the minutes, select board meeting for July 17th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Nice have it, so approved.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the future select board meetings, next meeting will be August 21st. That's on a Monday and Wednesday.
Well, I have a question
Whoa,
about that. That's a new
Wednesday.
one. Because Monday, September 4th is Labor Day. So, my question to you is, you probably will need to meet, but Monday, September 4th is a holiday. Tuesday, I'm supposed to be at the meeting in the church about our rain garden, which I think actually has been resolved. So we could do a Tuesday or Wednesday of that meeting. Just want to make sure we have a quorum. So the 5th or 6th.
So August 21st.
August 21st is
We're
good.
good with.
That's a Monday.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're looking to reschedule
The Labor Day select board meeting.
Okay, so what was the proposed date?
So this is the date that we're rescheduling, so it could be Tuesday the 5th or Wednesday the 6th.
6th.
Even.
I'm solid waste district.
So you're gonna be around. That's a bunch of trash to me.
Oh, wait, I will correct myself. No, it's going to move to October, so that's okay. Either one.
So are we gonna go with the 6th? 6 okay with you? Yeah. No? 6? Okay, let's go with the 6th.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
And that's, the other thing is the employee picnic on the 22nd, that's pretty informal. And I do have a few executive session items on personnel and contractual.
Okay, you wanna take us into executive
Actually,
session now?
Before you do, I had
Oh,
I'm thinking about the employee picnic. Any update on the pavilion down there, anything new going on? Any changes to the building?
Renovation?
The renovation, any updates on the renovation?
The last time, I spoke to Sam, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, and he was waiting for them to get back to him about what we could do for renovations.
Are you talking to the state?
The state was, we were waiting for them to get back to us on that. We did, of course, authorize the rebuilding of one of the walls, we talked about that.
Yeah, that's started. I see
Yep,
that's on the way.
extensively. They told us we could do.
the gate wall.
The gate wall, yeah, near the ticket, whatever, entry gate. We had received at least tentative approval to put up some of the lighting outside, but we don't have an interior renovation plan yet, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I went to the meeting and the person from the state seemed to be receptive to the idea of, and we should contact you, find out what we need to do, whether we need to go through labor industry or whatever to.
Well, we need a plan first, so we don't have a plan right now, that I'm aware of.
So interior
We'll be
renovations.
going through, like a Bluevian or someone to come up with
Yeah, he was
renovation
supposed to
plan?
be creating something, I mean, at this point, you're right, it's been a little while, if it's too busy, I can ask.
Well, I think right now if we ask him, he possibly plan, of course, we'd have to review it and all that, and then if we went through labor ministry, we'd be looking at something for next season, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I did ask him to put together that plan, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that under the purchasing policy, we look you up a bit,
We do, it's over $7,500.
you know, anticipating that, and that architects view of that would be more than 75.
Well, I was asking if he could give us a bid on what it would take to do the architectural review.
I can ask him for an estimate because I've asked him before for that.
Like against the 75, throw it in.
And the intent was to do some electrical upgrades and possibly some plumbing.
Interior?
Yes.
And what about its use? Do we want to look at options for use?
For what?
Use, how it's going to be utilized.
Yes.
The
Interior.
Yeah.
right, well, we should start getting some drafts of,
Right.
let's see if that works with our overall plan. The other one was that, we talked about starting, a fund or something for renovations, or, that may take a little bit of planning also.
Once we know what the cost is to rehabilitate the building and be able to call it, I'd be happy to try to find a way to get some people to donate to us.
Well, Al, wouldn't there be someone we could contact that has expertise in those kind of fields that, consult for municipal buildings, hospitals, and things like that?
I think you
Those
need
kind of
some-
things. Just get us a,
I'm sure we find that person in the hospital.
I think you need somebody who's got a little bit of historical restoration experience too.
Yeah.
Because you're not just gonna go in there and do whatever you want to do.
That's why I think, that's why I suggested we go out to bid, to specify what all these different things that we're thinking of.
Yeah.
So you get a broad spectrum of different architects.
when we met with the state and the architect, we went through the buildings, and we talked about things we were thinking of doing, and with the state, with the architect, so I think he's got somewhat of a good handle on that, enough to do a concept drawing. We weren't talking about any real major changes, we were just talking about upgrading the lighting, putting in better wiring, and then renovating the bathrooms. So I think
He was trying to figure out, Michael Dugan, the architect, was trying to figure out what our latitude, what kind of allowances they would make. And one of his suggestions they did make, which was changing the roof structure at all from the lake side. So he knows that that's not, he was trying to add some natural lighting.
yeah, I love that really about it either.
And so that's not on the table anymore, so he understands
I was thinking,
how far he would go.
I was thinking more about the kitchen.
The kitchen.
Yeah, for like banquets and
Sure.
conferences.
Well, there's space in those bathrooms, there's space to add, a small facility for catering and that. But
Do you need those bathrooms up there? I mean, that's a lot of space.
right, but that was all discussed at the meeting too.
It was.
Meeting up to them,
Yeah, that's what, when I said plumbing, we did discuss that.
yeah. Ellen,
There was another meeting with the registry. I was there, Sam and Mike Dugan. And actually the gentleman from the registry was actually an architect. He also was a carpenter on historical stuff. As far as Mike Dugan wanting to lift the whole roof, he actually gave a presentation saying that, and he'd like the roof line to stay the same on the front of the building, but we could light the back side. He went into detail with the wiring and that. The last thought I had is that Sam and Mike were working together to put a plan to present to the board. Then if you guys liked it, then it was up to the registry to approve it. I can check with Sam. I know he's been real busy. I don't know if it's Mike Dugan holding him up or if it's Mike so busy. But this week, before the week's out, I'll get with him and look into it. But
you gotta find out what Sam can charge us for that plan too. I'm sure he's not gonna do it for nothing.
It's more moving than because the architect is the one making the plan and submitting it to the labor ministry or the state.
And we're a little limited too. I mean, actually, the building itself, the stone structure is secure. It's sound. I had made the suggestion of doing a women's and men's bathroom on both ends of the building. The state actually liked that. That way, if we're using the property for a wedding, you shut the door to the outside, so the wedding party has use of a men's and women's room on one end. We leave the other end open for everybody else that's using the park. So the registry was all for that. They thought that would work out good. It was a very positive meeting, and I think it got lost in the shuffle with our engineer and architect, so.
Well, I think that if we do the interior renovations, which I wasn't real thrilled about the skylight or anything like that, but if we can get that done, I think it's something that we can afford and work for, so, should get an update anyways.
Okay.
So the goal is to push, to begin with, to come up with a review.
Well, we can't ask them to do it if we're not going to give them a check that we don't know what's going to cost us.
Right, so that's our next
That's
goal.
the next step.
Yeah.
Next step. is to-
Let's see what design is going to cost.
Free is good.
Three's better.
We'll try that option. And when he gets that on, that's what
Okay.
I'll
Take
Oh,
your
so
session.
I have to make that motion.
make the motion.
There you go, right there.
I got it. Okay, I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. I would also ask that we go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues under the provisions of Title I, Section 313, Sub A, Sub 1 of the Vermont statutes to invite the town manager.
All those in favor?
Yeah,
Opposed? Executive session, we have it.